Welcome to the Fantasy Source Baseball Podcast. My name is David A. Arnott, sitting here with Matt Lutovsky. It has reached 80 degrees in Charlotte, North Carolina. Spring is here. Summer's around the corner. Baseball starting. Jake Fox has hit 8 home runs during the spring.
Yeah, Jake Fox, quadruple A All-Star Jake Fox. He always does it when it doesn't matter.
Look, he qualifies at catcher. Mm-hmm. He qualifies at outfield. He qualifies at corner infield. I think both corner infield positions at this point. Probably first base, though, only in most leagues. Are you going to get suckered into picking him up?
Well, no, he has nowhere to. He doesn't have a position. He doesn't
There's
play.
The key. There's the key.
We actually got a question about him in the chat on Saturday, which we do every Saturday, by the way, at noon Eastern. And yeah, he doesn't. I mean, talk about a team overloaded with outfielders, corner infielders, DH candidates. He's not going to play. So as much as gaudy as those spring training numbers are, a guy like him isn't really worth tracking unless there's an injury.
He may be the most interesting backup catcher in baseball.
Well, that's one way to look at it, yeah.
Well, let's talk about strategy. I mean, we're talking about Jake Fox and looking at spring training. Let's talk about what you should do after you've had your draft. Obviously, we're still paying attention to games, developments, and things like that. Sporting News Experts League had a couple of pretty important pickups happen.
Yeah, no, I think it's something that people do far too often. They draft and just forget about their league until opening day, and can't do that. You have to keep on top of injuries, especially position battles sometimes too if you're in a single league. But yeah, we over the weekend, news about Frank Francisco, possibly not starting the year on the DL. John Roush, boom, go get him. That's a potential closer. That's some cheap saves you could get for the first couple weeks. And then news of Brian Wilson's injury, same type of deal in San Francisco. Go out and grab Sergio Romo. They're saying Wilson thinks he'll be ready for opening day, but opening day's coming, and he hasn't thrown it all, and, I don't know. I wouldn't.
Hey, whether Wilson is ready or not, opening day will happen.
Well, it will happen, that's for sure. And the other thing is, it's almost, if you're a Wilson owner, you probably don't want him to rush back. You probably say, take your time, buddy, because you'll take a week or two on the mend if it means, you avoid a month or 2 months later in the year.
I mean, what it comes down to, as far as I'm concerned, and I've most of the time in my fantasy baseball days, I've played in weekly leagues. Mm-hmm. But in daily leagues especially, fantasy rewards dedication. And that's what we're talking about now. After your draft, before the season starts, you can get some pretty solid rewards from just being a little bit more dedicated than the next guy over.
Yeah, absolutely. And every stat counts the same. A lot of people will scoff, like, well, if, Sergio Romo, he might get a save chance. Big deal. Well, all right, that's a save, though. That's 2 saves, whatever it is.
You don't have to give it back when he loses his job again.
No, exactly. Then you dump him, you pick someone new up, because there's going to be, whether it's a closer, whether it's a hot hitter, whoever it is going to be on the wire. And that's the other thing people love to scoff at, picking up the hot spring hitter, or the guy who, has the... Remember a couple years ago it was Emilio Bonifacio. Everyone makes fun of that. The bottom line is, if you have him for those 2 weeks, you get those stats. When he starts to slump, which he will, you dump him. No harm, no foul. There's nothing. Stats are stats. You get them any way you can. You get them from whoever you can get them from. And there you go. That's what you need. So
we've talked about dedication and picking up players.
Right.
How do you feel about, say, hitting up other owners in your league for trades at this point? Because, at a certain point, you want to say to yourself, you know what, if I wanted that player, I probably should have drafted him. And the other guy obviously wanted him. That's why he drafted him. So why are we talking trades at this point?
Yeah, to me, trading before the season starts is something, I've never done it. I don't look to do it. I just, because you figure the only guys on your roster who are expendable, maybe your last couple picks, what are you going to get for them in a trade? If you feel that there's someone else out there on the waiver wire, drop them and pick them up. But trading before the season starts is just kind of weird to me. But I actually, in one of the leagues I'm in, there's already been a trade. It's already happened. I was very disappointed. One of the owners has already decided to punt saves, which I'm not a fan of punting in general, but especially not a fan of punting, 2 days after the draft and 2 weeks before the season starts. So it's going to happen in some leagues. It's definitely going to happen, and to each their own in that regard.
Yeah, let's just. I think I agree with you in the sense that, you know what, let things play out for a little bit before you decide to do something rash. Last year I did something rash in the Experts League But it was at the end. It was near the end of July when I was near last place. I traded away Albert Pujols. That's when you do something rash. You don't wait before even the season begins. Wait for the season to happen. Wait for something to happen.
Well, and to me, of all categories to punt, because this particular owner basically had one closer on his team after the draft. I'm sure that wasn't by design, but it happened.
Closers will appear,
and that's the point. Is that, let's say he had been kind of tying it all together. Had he been really vigilant, he could have gone and gotten John Roush, gotten Sergio Romo, and maybe he would, that could tide him over for the first couple weeks, and then someone else will be there. That's what I did in one league, actually, an auction league, where I only basically have Brandon Lyon as my only closer because I have a problem paying a lot of money for closers, but then I regret it afterwards when I don't have any saves. I went out, I had the number 2 waiver claim, used it on John Roush. I also got Romo in that league. Like I said before, that might be a week's worth of saves, nothing more, but it's a week's worth of saves I didn't have, and that could be the difference between a couple points in a roto league.
So in this preseason period, who are the hitters and the pitchers that you're looking at that you would say off the top, you know what, I consider there's somebody on my team that I'm willing to drop. Who would I go after?
Well, there's a couple pitchers again, this is pretty much just based off spring training. A couple guys. Phil Koch for Detroit moved into the rotation, pitching really well this spring. He came up as a starter originally, so he's not totally foreign to the role. I'm hesitant to compare him to guys in the past, but maybe this year C.J. Wilson, not quite.
I mean, that's the dream scenario for him.
Not as high of a K rate probably, but he's been good. And this one, this is a classic guy that people will scoff at, Bartolo Colon.
Hey, AL only leads, you can't stop at that.
Even mixed leagues. Bottom line.
Really? 5.18 ERA over the past 3 years, something like that.
Look, here's what I'm saying. He's going to pitch for the Yankees. We know they'll score runs. He's pitching really well this spring. You get him for 2 weeks, 2 good weeks. We see every year there's a veteran like that who has 2 good weeks, then he starts getting tattooed. Get a couple weeks of stats out of him, dump him. I'm just saying it's an option. I'm not telling people to do it. Just something to think about. Derek Holland I really like as a sleeper in Texas. He's pitching pretty well this spring. And Randy Wells, who was very fantasy relevant a couple years ago, struggled last year, pitching great this spring. Probably going to be the Cubs' number 4 starter, so I like him too. And then hitters, another old veteran, Chipper Jones, killing it this spring. I really like Brett Wallace in Houston. Looks like he's finally going to get a chance to play every day. He can play both first and third. That's nice. And then David Murphy in Texas, they're talking possibly about benching Bourbon. If they do that, he gets close to every day at bats. He produced last year, I think, like 15-15. Mm-hmm. A guy to watch. And Kristen Norfia in San Diego, if he gets a chance to play every day, he's at like 460 this spring. Just a couple guys to watch.
Now, I don't know the Denorfia situation off the top of my head, but is he affected by Ryan Ludwig's injury issues?
I think a little bit. I think I would help him if Ludwig was out. But their outfield, they had Maben. He was injured earlier this year too, and Venable. So right now, Denorfia is probably on the outside looking in. But if NL only leagues for sure he should be picked up, and then like a deep league like ours, 5 outfielders, whatever. If he's getting every day at bats for a couple weeks, why not throw him out there?
So I would say the one takeaway: be vigilant.
Yes.
Work harder than everyone else.
Yeah,
work harder.
That's what you got to do, and the season starts the day you draft. It doesn't start opening day.
It starts before you draft. You do your projections. Well, okay, I'm just being a little bit too Vince Lombardi there.
Yes.
Right.
It never ends.
All right, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.